7.6 million U.S. households have left pay television.
Whether it's on the phone or on their iPad, they are watching more video.
Yahoo's streaming an NFL game. There's all kinds of examples of where streaming is taking over.
The move that Verizon just made, in my opinion, is so progressive.
AOL's got programming. AOL's got the technology to compete against Google. They're really the only guy.
It's one of the series of fairly bold steps that this giant telecom company has taken.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Marni Walden.
Good morning. A little extra music is always good. Thank you, and good morning to all of you. So it's really great to be here, and Meredith, thank you for that introduction. As she said, I work on the new stuff, so my team helps develop the new products and services as well as the new businesses. Hopefully you'll all get a chance to stop by the showroom today and see our booth where we're featuring things like intelligent transportation and smart cities. But today we're here to talk about our favorite topic, which is mobile video. And I want to start with just a few of the trends, which I know many of you probably follow, but it starts with viewership. So you probably know that 20% of the households in America don't subscribe to traditional pay TV. And then if you looked at last year, 2014, 8% of the households cut that spending and cut the cord. And then you look out and say, if you look into the future, OTT or over-the-top services will reach penetration of roughly 80% in 2018. Also, we know that the device or the screen that people turn to first is changing. We call it the mobile-first world. We know that it's not the screen that sits on the table in your family room or hangs on your wall. It's about the mobile device you carry in your pocket. Of the time spent on digital, the majority is on your mobile device. We know that 1 in 3 Americans go to their smartphone every single day to watch content, and then another 100 million go on tablets. And then last year in the US, adults spent more time on their mobile device than they did on their personal computers. If you start looking at the millennials, those numbers are even larger. So 2/3 consider the smartphone the #1 source for video. 40% have never paid for traditional TV services. And 47%, and approaching 50%, use social media while they're watching and enjoying their content. The other place that things are changing are the advertisers. So digital will surpass print in 2016. We also know that it'll surpass traditional TV in 2018. 9 out of the 10 advertisers who are spending money are shifting to digital. And in 2019, more than half of the spend, the advertising dollars, will be spent on mobile video. So those are all big changes, and we think Verizon is at the perfect place to take charge of that opportunity. First, we start with our assets. So we have the nation's largest 4G LTE network. We have 110 million relationships with customers. We've assembled a number of video and tech assets. If you think about the acquisitions we've made from Edgecast to Uplink, which helped form our content delivery business. We then made the purchase of Intel Media, which you'll see the fruition of that come today. And then we also have AOL, which was just announced, and Millennial Media. But the other thing that's really important to bring this all together is to have key partners. And we have amazing partners who've gone on this journey with us in really what I think has been uncharted territory. And we have a couple of those partners here today, and I'm excited to introduce them to you. So first, who probably doesn't need an introduction, but is Jeffrey Katzenberg. So you know that he's the CEO and co-founder of Dreamworks Animation. He founded it in 1994 with his partners, Steven Spielberg and David Geffen. He's won a number of awards. He's been up for 9 Academy Awards, and he's won 2 of those. And then he made the brilliant move, which we'll get to talk about with him, of purchasing and acquiring Awesomeness TV, which is one of our key partners. Jeffrey, can I have you come to the stage? Okay, and the next partner I want to introduce to you will give us the perspective from the advertising side. So Dave Penski, who's the Chief Commercial Officer at VivaKI Global, which is a part of the Publicis Group. It was founded in 2008 to accelerate the digital transformation. It's a global leader in digital ads, and Dave manages roughly $80 billion of spend. So Dave, could you come join us as well? Okay, thank you for being here. We appreciate it.
Happy to be here.
Okay, so the very first question, because I know there was someone on before that went to Burning Man, and I know, Jeffrey, you just got back. So that's not part of what we're going to talk about the full day.
Well, actually, I blame Bob Pittman. He's the one that actually got me to Burning Man. And I was actually thinking about it as he was here this morning. I realized that, you know, there's an amazing expression that sort of encompassed the culture of Las Vegas, you know, which is everything that happens in Las Vegas stays in Las Vegas. And what I realized is Las Vegas is the Little League, and Burning Man is the All-Stars.
How's that?
What happens at Burning Man stays at Burning Man.
So maybe that is how we should spend the next 30 minutes. So, okay, all right. Well, I got to learn a little bit about what happens at Burning Man, so we'll leave it at that. So let me just ask you, Jeffrey, I know that you've been at the center of this, and maybe starting with film. So how is content changing? How is the digital world changing? How is mobile making film different for you today?
Well, I think maybe, I think we are at literally this amazing inflection point that is going to create a genuine revolution. And to try and frame it the way I think about it is that when we moved from a world in the 1950s in which entertainment, filmed entertainment, were movies in movie theaters, and television came along, and television, whether it was in hour format, half-hour comedies, news, it actually reinvented what entertainment means and how it was delivered and how we received it. And you can actually look over the years at every time a new delivery or technology platform came along, cable, and just leap ahead today, and I believe what we will see in the next handful of years is a revolution in the types of entertainment that we are going to consume, and it's all going to be made for mobile. Mobile is going to be the platform of the next decade or two, and you know, the foundation of it began in this amazing YouTube universe of, you know, UGC, and it started to evolve. And the sort of leaders in this area on the entertainment side were Awesomeness TV, which is why we made the purchase of Awesomeness TV, because Brian Robbins and Brett Boutier are literally the pioneers that are creating a new form of content. And it is connecting first and foremost with Gen Z and millennials. And you can see the tidal wave rising here. The other two that are doing, I think, a interesting or a really remarkably great job in it are BuzzFeed and Vice. Theirs are based on news content, whereas Brian and Brett, ATV is based on actual storytelling and entertainment. And what we are going to see happen in a very short period of time is the highest quality content being made that we're used to seeing, whether it's on pay television, whether it's a Game of Thrones or a House of Cards or Orange is the New Black, content of that quality made, conceived to be native to mobile. And it will be delivered, in my opinion is, in 4 to 10 minute bites and bits and snacks, because that is the way in which we, in terms of our lifestyles and how we go about our lives today, how we can best consume it when it's on a device like this.
Yeah. So Dave, let me ask you about that.
Sure.
So what does that mean for advertisers, for brands, and what's happening with that space?
Yeah, we're seeing just the massive spend towards mobile. I think we're looking at advertising spend on a yearly basis over the next few years being up somewhere between 3 and 5%. And of that, 50% of that gain is on mobile. It is where we're seeing across all media, from what we consider our traditional, and Bob talked about this before, how I had generally thought of things in these pillars of radio, TV, print, and the fact that mobile is actually kind of the connector of where you stop thinking of things that way. And I think that we're seeing each of the products for what those traditionally produced by those networks being produced for mobile. And I certainly agree that the content is going to be tremendous, and I think something we're looking forward to. I think what we need as advertisers to do a better job of is on the commercial side and on the content that we're producing for commercials. I think one of the struggles we have is you can now target 1,000 different targets with pinpoint accuracy, or as pretty close as we get to that. You have a tendency to want to produce 1,000 different ads, and often as you produce 1,000 different ads, your content quality decreases. So I think one thing we need to figure out from an advertiser perspective is how do we adjust for that? How do we make sure that the content from a commercial standpoint is going to be equal to the content that's being produced by some of the...
Yeah, so the thing...
I knew you were going to want to jump in on ad creation.
Yeah, well, the thing is where it's just, I know this is because it literally is about us making a quantum leap beyond what we know today. So if content is going to be delivered in the mobile world, in a mobile universe, content is going to be delivered and consumed in 4 to 10 minute segments, pieces in it, then the idea, which is, it's not about just taking an hour television show and cutting it into, repurposing linear content into it. It won't work. If you took an episode of any long-form show and you cut it up in it, it would be a completely unsatisfying viewing experience in it, because there are chapters to these. There's an arc that's written to every episode of every professionally produced television show, where there's a beginning, a middle, and an end, a cliffhanger, or something that serializes along the way in it. And so finding what that new format is, what is new TV, is what I keep saying is a revolutionary thing. It's not a repurposing thing. And advertising, in the same way, you can't think of it as we're going to have now television commercials that are 30 seconds or 20 seconds or 15 seconds. That will not work in this world. What will work in this world is integration and sponsorship. So ATV today, which is, by the way, 70% mobile, which is why we wanted to be on the #1 mobile carrier. And I have to say Verizon has been aggressive and innovative in sort of pushing into this new world, which is why we've actually been so excited about the partnership that we've had with them. But ATV today, 90% of its revenue is actually coming from sponsorship, integration, and the repurposing of that content from that platform onto others. And 10% of it is coming from what we would consider traditional advertising.
So Dave, what is the size? What's the real market opportunity in mobile advertising? We put some numbers out there, but what do you think?
Yeah, it's enormous. I think it's also, it's like, if you look at mobile advertising also, it's always a tough question to ask me. It's multiple billions in terms of the revenue perspective for next year. It's also the amount of inventory that we are now purchasing on either what was originally digital, originally linear TV, that ends up running on mobile, and people are viewing on tablets or phones or what that be. And it was content that we had originally purchased and as an advertiser on linear, and now it's being, in terms of where the consumer is not watching it on linear TV, they're watching it online, that's where they're actually delivering the impression. So when you count it that way, it's $5 billion plus in terms of the total revenue opportunity for mobile video advertising.
Do you think that you'll see a natural move of that spend moving over, or do you think there'll be a little bit of wait and see what happens on mobile, or how do you see the migration?
I would say that we have an industry of slow to medium followers, so I would say that there's going to be a more of a slower migration. It's going to be quicker than other things. I think we've been innovating much faster in terms of moving the spend over, but we have many of our advertisers in general, I won't speak client by client, that struggle with the sponsorship model. That they are, they work on a very econometric system of this many spots and dots sells this many products. And I think in this new world, it's taking time to figure out a new model and a way to predict, from their own sales, but start looking at across the packaged goods market. This is certainly a struggle. This is not the same as it was a few years ago, even.
Yeah. I want to switch to millennials, and I think we need to include Gen Z when we talk about this as well. But what are the challenges you both see with that audience today, but from your respective positions, and then what are you think the big opportunities? So,
well, again, I go back to saying that this generation, particularly Gen Z, they are the generation that were born to the smartphone, and so they were and continue to be the fastest to adapt to it. They are the ones who are most comfortable and confident about it, although millennials are certainly likewise very, very strong. And you can see the curve here of adaptation. 8 out of 10 Gen Zers spend 4.5 hours a day on their smartphone. And here's what's interesting to me about it. 67% of that time is in their home. So it's not just out and about being mobile, it is the way in which it has become comfortable for them to consume. And so, the opportunity around that, and as they age and move on into the ecosystem, and you look at it over the next decade, we are looking at a transformative time. It is a real shift in our behaviors and our consumption. The one thing I will say though is I actually don't believe this is a zero-sum game, and that made for mobile content, in my opinion, is going to be additive to what is already a very robust ecosystem of linear content in it. I don't think that it is going to make HBO or Netflix or Hulu or any of those any less successful or less appealing or less important, because they are different experiences. Right. To sit down and watch a 1-hour piece of entertainment is a different commitment, and we have those places and spaces in our habits and in our day, but we actually have many more moments, in between moments, 4 to 10 minute moments, in which if we give people a super high quality entertainment experience, it will be a blockbuster success.
Yeah. Dave, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with almost everything you're saying. Absolutely.
Well, what do you not agree with?
Well, I'll tell you. I think one thing is interesting. One thing I'm really interested to see is Vice. You mentioned a little before. Vice is doing it in a bit of a backward way. They're a very strong digital mobile player now, launching a traditional TV cable network coming in January. And they've discussed whether or not they're going to time things in 4 and 10 minute segments, or they're not going to do 30-second. They're not going to do 30-minute blocks. They're not going to do 22 minutes of content and 8 minutes of commercials. They're not going to do that. And I'm really interested to see what happens out of that, because I think that I actually believe that the mobile and millennial world this is certainly what millennials has already done to our advertising world, will actually revolutionize it. And I think you'll see more long tail cable, especially who's struggling right now with viewership, with revenue. And I think this is a new way to look at it. Maybe you start looking at some of the cable providers, looking at content in more snackable pieces, and not just the 22 minutes, and that model is going to have to change. So I actually think that what I look at it is the mobile audience and millennial or Generation Z, whatever you want to discuss that younger scale, is going to force the larger cable ecosystem to make changes. And I think that Vice is really at that, certainly at that inflection point, because they're doing it the completely opposite way of everybody else. And I am looking forward. I think I really believe in their content. And the TV content that's coming up is going to be much more around not news. It's going to be much more about more environmental and documentary style. And I've seen a lot of it. I think it's great. So I think it should be hopefully a big win, and in a way to look at the industry a bit differently.
Yeah, Vice is one of our key partners, so we think they're very, very interesting. Jeffrey, I want to talk about talent, because you've seen some moves of some of the great talent coming off the platform because they're not getting the viewership on traditional. So what's your perspective on, will we see more of that? Is that just a trend that's starting? How do you view talent moving from traditional to more emerging platforms?
Well, I think it's moving both ways. We're seeing these amazing influencers who are creating phenomenal followings on the YouTube platform, and then migrating off of that into other opportunities. By the way, they don't walk away from their YouTube audience. That continues to be a fantastic promotional and marketing platform, and that's why for even ATV, as we migrate onto the Verizon platform, we want to protect that YouTube because it's a funnel, it's a marketing platform. It will help us funnel people into our Verizon offering, which is a premium offering that does have differentiated and exclusive content on it. But we see talent moving both ways. We see a migration of talent and stars off of the YouTube channels into traditional media, and likewise we're seeing more and more where people in the traditional media field are understanding how important these platforms are for building and sustaining and mining their audience.
Yeah, very good. All right. Dave, anything else you'd want to say on how you monetize in a mobile-first world?
Sure. I think that one of the things it's going to be able for us to do is the hardest audience to reach for us right now is that under 35 and under 24. And I think that the great thing about having a true scalable model is we can reach them on a consistent basis. So we want to get a message out, whether it's launching a new movie, whether it's launching a new phone or a new car. All of those things require, and none of those things change. Advertising, that has not changed. To get that information out in a quick way, at scale, with reach, and what I really look at, excited by from a monetization standpoint, is we can now look to get large audiences and at a premium price. And it's going to be that we need to pay a premium price. Advertisers realize that, because we want premium content. We want content that is professionally produced, that is something that they're looking for, and there is going to be a price to that. And we're not able to get those eyeballs anywhere else. I mean, it's not like we can buy them on linear television at scale at all. You start mentioning those households falling off of Nielsen homes, start mentioning at the beginning about the millennials cutting the cord or have never even had a cord to cut. That is something that was worrisome to me. This is a solution for me to look at is how can we reach that younger demographics?
Yeah, okay. Jeffrey, I know you talked about awesomeness, but and you've also said what happens at Burning Man stays at Burning Man, so you're not going to do an animation about it. But what's next for Dreamworks?
Well, I hope a couple of really great, successful movies coming. So we got Kung Fu Panda 3 coming in January. But for us as a company, what we're now trying to do is to build out on this brand that has taken 20 years to build, and one that has a very specific set of values associated with it that people instantly get and understand. And how do we follow our audience? We want to be everywhere where our audience is. And so we've moved into television. We have we're probably the largest producer of original animation, television animation in the world today with content for Netflix. We see television as a tremendous opportunity for us. Linear television going forward it is a growth business in a big way, and we're really excited about new media. I really have to say, I don't think there is a bigger opportunity waiting for us or for you than made for mobile. And I think we will come back here 3 years from now and have this conversation, and what will have occurred is literally going to be an entire new industry, a new ecosystem around it, and incredible opportunity and wealth that is going to be created with quality, high-end, premium content made with the best filmmakers and best storytellers to be delivered on a mobile platform.
All right, we just have a minute left here, so I want to ask both of you, the ending question of, what worries you about the opportunity in front of us? We all have agreed that we think there's a huge opportunity. That's why we partnered, but what worries you about it?
One of the things that worries me about digital and mobile advertising in general is viewability and fraud, which I think is still a industry issue. For the reason we don't adopt things faster even than we are today is we want to make sure that this is going to be premium, it's going to be 100% viewable or as close to that as possible, and we're going to remove as many of the fraud situations we have across mobile advertising and digital advertising in general, which is still something that scares the industry, is something that we need to watch out for.
What I think about every day and everything that we do is I think about how do we exceed the expectation of our customers, and how do we deliver content and experiences to them that surprise and delight them, that are better than they are expecting. And if we are able to do that, we win. And I guess the thing that I'm most sensitive to, or that thing that keeps me up at night, is how do we stay in sync with our audience? How do we be there as they are evolving and changing? How do we anticipate what it is that they want tomorrow? We know what they're consuming today. How do we be on the front cutting edge of what they're going to want tomorrow, and then do it in a quality way that enhances our brand and exceeds their expectations?
All right, great. Well, I want to thank both of you. You've been fabulous partners in taking this journey with us. I think hopefully we won't wait 3 years to come back. We'll be talking about this maybe next year and the following of the great success. But you've been fabulous to work with, and thanks for taking the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so thank you to both. So we've listened to our partners about what content companies want, what advertisers need, what brands need to connect. We've listened to our customers, and we've done a lot of focus work to try and build a product that makes sense to our customers as well, about what they want to watch, what they want to listen to, and how they want to share. And we've also learned from the expertise of all of the companies that we've acquired and that we partner with, going from day to day in building the product. And the result has been the launch of Go90, which is really a social entertainment platform for the mobile first generation. It starts with having premium content. So we are very focused on what's relevant to millennials and to Gen Z. We'll have 15 of the 30 most viewed shows. We'll have 9 of 15 of the most viewed on web. We'll have hundreds of originals. We'll have best of live sports, music, cultural events. And we'll continue to bring new content to the platform. But it's also about creating a social experience, because we know that this group wants to watch and also share. So it's about consumption plus conversation. It's about being able to cut and share clips both inside of the application and outside with all of the social media. It's about joining crews and following people that are like you or things that they're doing, and be able to share with friends and fans. And it's also about crowdsourcing and getting recommendations from the community. And we couldn't do it without the great partners that you saw on the stage, but also the NFL, NCAA, obviously Awesomeness TV, HuffPost Live, Univision, Scripps, and many, many more that you'll see inside the product. So I want to give you the first view of Go90, and I've got a video to show you.
I'm playing Kate Winslet.
Ew, who's that old guy?
Gonna be knee deep in their beeswax.
So we've sent out a private invitation to just about 5 million Verizon customers, but ultimately the application will work across all carriers, including Wi-Fi. We'll have a national launch later this month. Look, we think this is a very exciting time, and I know you hear a lot about this space, but we think that we're skating to where the puck is going, not to where it is today. And there's a dynamic opportunity for those companies who want to take advantage of that. Verizon and our partners that have come along the journey with us are very committed to being one of those companies. I want to thank you and enjoy the rest of your conference.